welcome to the stage, David Edward Garcia.
All right, I'm excited to be here with you all in Indianapolis. My name is David Edward Garcia. I do travel all over the world. I can do these presentations in English. Lo puedo hacer en español totalmente sin problema. Lo podemos hacer sin problema ahora si quieren. Eu também falo português. Não sou eu brasileiro. Ele... Vocês falam? Você é brasileiro? Eu morei em Tatuapé, em São Paulo. I lived in the neighborhood of Tatuapé, in São Paulo, Brazil. Je parle français actuellement. J'habite en Suisse. I live in Switzerland. Alors, on peut parler après si tu veux. C'est pas de problème. We can speak afterwards in French. And I lived in Italy. I'm hoping to go back soon. Anche parlo italiano. Italiano è bello. È un grande piacere stare qua con voi questa mattina. Allora, grazie. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I didn't grow up speaking English or Spanish. The way I grew up, it was more like this. Préstame las keys de tu car porque yo voy para la store y no tengo food y estoy bien hungry. That's the way I grew up, man. And, I grew up, I have a Mexican mom, a Mexican dad. I was up late too, no reason, just watching the election. I have a Mexican dad and an American mom. So I grew up in the middle of both worlds. I grew up right on the border of Texas and Mexico. And when you grow up Hispanic the way I do, we all have nicknames. But it's not like in other cultures, right, where they call their kids like beautiful and champion. I was a heavy kid. So when I was growing up, my nickname was Gordo. And for those of y'all who don't know Spanish, gordo means sexy. And, and I had a crazy auntie. She was always calling me gordo. She's like, oye, gordo. Gordo, ven pa' acá, gordo. I was like, why do you call me gordo? Mijo, es cariño. We love you. I love you too, but I don't call you monstra. That's the way I grew up, man. I grew up right on the border, man, and I grew up there. I was an awkward kid, right? And you don't know you're that awkward kid until you get like to the first school dance. Do y'all have school dances here in Indianapolis? Yes? No? If you don't, it's better, because school dances are awkward. They're awkward, not for girls, because girls have a good time all by themselves, right? The music's going and girls are just like... This dance is so much fun. And look at James. He's so cute. He looks like the boys from One Direction. It's awkward. Not guys, man. Guys, we're different. There's different kinds of guys. First of all, there's the cool guys that the whole time they're just there like checking it out like they're security. Hey, ¿qué onda, güey? Then there's the creeper boys. Y'all know the creeper boys? The ones that they just follow you girls everywhere. They memorize your school schedule. They like everything you put up on Instagram. You block them and they create a new account and add you. Creeper boys, man, that's you, baby. Yo, so you know this is true, because creeper boys go right behind the girls. They're like, hey, girl. Creeper boys, man. Dances are awkward. All that was going on. But then there was me. I didn't know how to talk to girls. So I would just point and hope they would come. So the music was going. And I was like... And girls would freak out, man. And I lived on the border, so they mixed the languages. Girls would be like... Me estás friqueando. And they would always leave, man. And universally, where do girls go whenever they're nervous, afraid? Where do girls go hide? Wait, why was that a bunch of dudes who knew the answer? We'll talk later, bro. You have sisters, right? Yeah, you have sisters? No? All right, we'll talk later. But it's true. They go to the restroom. I don't know if you noticed, bro, but they have to go in a group, right? They're like, girls, we're going to the restroom. Oh, thank God. I had to go since yesterday. Let's go. Not dudes, man. Dudes are not like that. Like, I can never tell one of my friends, like, you okay? No, man, I failed my test, and that's all right. Let's go to the restroom. Come on, bro. It's a girl thing, man. So I grew up, man. I was that awkward kid. I grew up in the middle of two worlds. And then, like, I was not a good student in school. But when I was in 8th grade, they put me in a class for all the really smart kids. It was called in-school suspension. And Texas is nuts, man. To this day, they can still paddle kids in Texas schools. It was nuts. So I remember, it's crazy. So I remember the principal, he was gonna paddle me, and right before he gave me a demotivational speech. And I'm not gonna say his name to protect his identity, but I was sitting in Mr. Jones' office. He had like a crazy haircut. You guys wouldn't know the haircut, but people used to have it years ago. It was this haircut called the mullet. But I always felt like he was gonna shoot me, so I called it the bullet. And and he walked into the office, man. He's like, David Edward Garcia, you know why you're always saying a bunch of jokes in class? I'm funny. And the principal called my mom. I was in the office, and the principal was like, ma'am, I don't know how to say this, but David is crazy. He's crazy. And my mom said, no, he's not crazy. The thing with David is he's so smart. You don't know what to do with him. And then later I got home and she's like, David, I think you're crazy. So my mom was talking to me and she's like, I want you to promise me you're gonna go on to college and change your life around. I never had a chance to go. And I don't regret it because I raised 2 beautiful kids. I said, Mom, just one because my sister's not beautiful. And my mom said, I thought the same thing. No, she didn't say that. She didn't have to. So, no, it's called comedy for a reason, because it's true. And so I was going through all this stuff, man, but I did graduate high school. I was able to graduate high school. And right after high school, we took a class trip. First time in my life, I went beyond Texas. I went beyond Mexico. We took a class trip to Paris, France. For sure, yeah, for sure. I fell in love with the food, with the language, with the ladies. And I remember I heard French and I heard other languages because it's cosmopolitan. It's like a big place with a bunch of people. And so I told the dude I was with, I said, Pierre, I'm gonna come back one day and I'm gonna speak French. And the dude got upset with me. He's like, no. Mr. Garcia, it is impossible for somebody like you to learn Français. I was like, don't spit, bro, come on. He's like, David, because you are from the United States. Maybe somebody from Canada or somebody from Great Britain, but never somebody from the United States. So he told me this joke they have in Europe. He's like, David, if you speak 3 languages, you're trilingual. If you speak 2 languages, you're bilingual. What are you if you speak 1 language? You're monolingual. No. You are from the United States. I promise they say that. So I went back to my neighborhood. Now, my Texas neighborhood was 99% Mexican. Statistically, 99%. And I never met the other 1%. I think they were just hiding somewhere. I don't know. So I told the guys in my neighborhood, and I don't know, like, not everyone has a Mexican background, I understand that, but they just make fun of you. So I told the guys, I was like, guys, I'm gonna learn languages. And they're like, cálmate, Rosetta Stone. Oye. And they started making fun of me, like, hey, inglés sin barreras, ven pa' acá. Ven pa' acá. Paris. Ven pa' acá, Paris. So I told the guys in my neighborhood, I said, guys, I'm going to learn languages and I'm going to travel all over the world. And the guys in my neighborhood looked at me and they all said, now for those of you who are not fluent in Mexican, means dream on. For example, you're such a beautiful girl. Really? David, we're so proud to be your parents. Really? Congratulations. This letter says that you got into Yale. Really? It says you're going to jail. And so, what time is it? I want to just say jokes for like 7 hours. All right. All right, so that's what I was going through, man. I was going through all this. Now, here's the truth, students. The truth is that I did have a hard time in class, in school. I did have a hard time going through school. I was not a smart student. I failed classes, but I failed the classes you're not supposed to fail. I failed typing. I failed Spanish for non-Spanish speakers. Tengo pasaporte mexicano. All right, I know the Himno Nacional, which is, by the way, the longest. Out of all of them, the Star Spangled Banner here was done in 2 minutes. El Himno Nacional Mexicano, you think it's over? Pum, pa, pum, pum, pa, pum, pa, 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 pum. Bum, ba, bum, bum, ba, bum, ba, 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 bum, bum. And that's not even the remix. Like when Mexico wins the Olympics, you can leave and come back 3 days later. Dun, 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 dun. They're still there. All right. So now I joke about my older sister, but the truth is that my older sister, she's beautiful, she's brilliant. She finished her college, she finished it in 4 years, scholarship, dean's list, like all of these great things. And after that, she was a full-time teacher, finished her master's as a full-time teacher, MBA, 2 years, 3.93, just goes on and on. At her graduation, I didn't know who they were talking about because they said all these Greek letters. They were like Summa, Cum Laude, Delta, Delta Airlines, Delta International. I said, Mom, is this a graduation or a vacation? I was confused. And so my dad would brag about my sister. My dad was like, this is Elizabeth. We are so proud of Elizabeth. She's the golden child in our lives. Yes, my Mexican dad became British when he talked about Lizzie. Even the name Elizabeth, her name means gift of God. And that's David. We don't even know what his name means. It probably means Jesus, take the wheel. I don't know. Or the neighbor, Jesús, llévate a David. No sabemos, algo. So that's how I grew up, man. And so here's the thing. I was going through all those challenges, but just like the lady who came up here, Mrs. Dobson, right before I began, she said something. And I want to give you 3 keys how to take control of your future, how to take your power. And I learned the same thing that she was telling us earlier. That was such a powerful confession. I am not only a dreamer, I'm also a doer, and my future belongs to me. So I was in this world where I had 2 realities. On the one hand, I wanted to go to college, I wanted to be successful, I wanted to travel around the world. But on the other hand, I had the reality. I wasn't that good student. The place I grew up in was not the best place and the best context. So I was facing these 2 forces. Now, the first thing I need to share with you is that difficult does not mean impossible. So I'm going to give you 3 keys as we're looking at how to go on to college, how to go on and do great things. I'm going to give you 3 keys. Now, this morning, I don't know how you woke up this morning. I've been in one fight in my life. I was a kid. I was like I don't know, 12, 13. It was dumb. We were playing baseball. I got in a fight. And the day after the fight, I woke up super sore, like just cateado, adolorido, hurt. I haven't felt that until this morning. This morning, I don't know how you woke up. I woke up sore. I felt like as a whole country, I felt like we went through a fight. And at first, I was saying, hold on, let me say this here, and then we can all clap together. At first, I was saying, what a tough day to give a talk on. The day after this big thing happened, and this change is happening. But then I said, no, this is the best day to give a talk. Because when you wake up from something like this is the best day to remind every single one of us that we have the power, that you have the power. Nobody can take your power to go to college. Nobody can take your power, and nobody can take your dreams. At first I said, what a tough day. And I said, no, this is the best day to remember that the future is bright. The future is filled with possibilities, and the future belongs to every one of you. The future is ours. Back in Texas, the Mexican people say, no te agüites. I don't know how to translate that. Don't get watery. All right, so 3 keys. Number 1, if you want to go on and live your dream life, go on to college, live a life beyond your dreams, do the things that seem impossible. Number 1, find your genius. Science is teaching us that every single one of us is a genius. I grew up in the old model. The old model said, if you pass in school, you're smart. If you fail, you're not smart. The new science is teaching us that every single one of you is a genius. Okay, so I want you to repeat after me. Let's say this. Say, I'm a genius. Let's do this in español. Soy un genio. Let's do this in French. Je suis intelligent. Let's do this in Italian. Sono intelligente. You are now a genius in 4 languages. Give yourselves a round of applause. I had such a hard time in school because I couldn't follow the system that I was doing. But afterwards, somebody came up to me and they said, David, do you know why you've had a problem in school? And I said, no, but I think you want to tell me. And they said, David, you are an autodidact. And I said, no, I'm Mexican. And they said, do you know what an autodidact is? And I said, is it the new race car? And they said, David, you have a different learning style. And somebody coached me to find my genius. I used to get down on myself because I couldn't do good in math and science, and I had to work hard. But then I found my genius. After I was in Switzerland for just 8 weeks, I was speaking French fluently. After I was in Brazil for 4 weeks, eu falava português. And so I have something, and every one of you have something. And part of, people say, well, David, how do I find my genius? There's several things you can do, but one of them is what comes naturally to you. What can you do that you just love to do? You could wake up the rest of your life saying, I can do that. Okay, I always used to make my friends laugh in school, and then I was like, I can make that a career? Okay, another thing, and this is where people get lost. Part of finding your genius is, what is your story? What is the struggles and the past that you have gone through? See, when I grew up, I used to say, I wish I was like my friends who could get a scholarship. I wish I was like my friends whose rich parents could pay for everything. I used to think that. People are telling me college and university, but now how am I going to get a loan? How am I going to get a car to get to school? I had all of these worries, and it used to kind of stress me out. But science is teaching us that stress doesn't break us. When you manage stress, it makes you stronger. And part of your genius is part of the way of finding your genius. Or what are some of the struggles that you had to go through? I had to work. When I went to school, I did go to college. And it was not easy for me. It was a 4-year college degree. And I was able to condense it down into 9. It took me 9 years to finish that BA. All right, I'm not going to say the next joke. Okay. And so it took me 9 years to finish that. And then I said, if I can do this, I can go on and do a master's. But I had to work full time. I had to go to school full time. Just like our brother who came up here earlier, Rafael. Man, I was getting home at 2 or 3 in the morning after waiting on tables all night. And I would go home and sleep for 3 hours and dream about waiting on tables. And then I would go to school, take a quiz. And I did this for years. But here's the thing, just like Marlene Dobson told us earlier, is that nobody could take that power from me. I have a friend. He's one of the few Mexican Americans. I don't even think he's Mexican American. I think he was born in Mexico. He's one of the few Mexicans or Mexican Americans who have gone on to the NFL. He's a friend of mine. And he called me. He's only 26 years old. He was a kicker for the Falcons. And he's trying to get back in. And he told me his story. He said, David, I had to wake up at 4:20 so I could take the bus, because the bus took an hour and a half. I didn't have a car. Then I had to go weight train. And then after weight training, I had to go work. And after work, I had to go to school. And he said, David, but I wanted to finish my master's. I want to be a principal. And I wanted to continue in the NFL. See, that's something that no election can ever take from us. That's something that no hater can ever take from you. is your ability to say, I got this. I got my future. Nobody can take away your genius. There will be haters. There will be people who might give you a hard time. Life is not always going to be easy. You are going to have to do those all-nighters. It is going to hurt. There are going to be breakups. But what they can never do is they can never take away your genius. They can never take away your ánimo. They can never take away your drive. They can never take away your story. That's why I share the past, going through. I share with it comedically, but I went through this. I was in a school just yesterday, and a little 10-year-old boy said, Mr. Garcia, what do I do when the people in my own house, they're mean to me, and their bullies are from my own neighborhood, and I want to go on to college? It touched my heart. And I said, you know what? I said, I wish I could tell you that haters and bullying go away after high school. It doesn't change. They're always going to be there. But I said this, but you don't lose sight of your dream. Because I can tell you that those haters that used to make fun of me 10 years ago, when I go back to that neighborhood, they're still there. They're still there. Hey, ¿qué pasó? Hey, ¿dónde estabas? In Paris? No, I was in Italy. See, they're still going to be there. But it's up to you to choose your dream and your story. The first thing, find your genius. Second thing, find your story. None of us is a number. None of us is a statistic. None of us is a 2%, 50%. Every single one of you is an individual with a story. And you have right now the power to write your story. And we brought you here. And there's a team of people here who are here to help you and coach you and give you the skills to write that story. Over the next few hours, you're going to get a blueprint. How can I write my story? So that my story can say graduate. So that my story can say successful. So that my story can say family man, family woman, happily single, happily married, happily dating. Whatever your story is, we're going to give you the blueprint over the next few hours. I travel all over the world. And this last year alone, I've been to the Middle East. I've been to Asia twice. I've been all over. But I can tell you that I've never seen a leadership summit for Latinos like this one. There's no other place, no other state that I know of that has the vision for young Latino leaders. These people are here. These educators are here. The people, the board of directors is here. And they're all saying, go for it. Go for it. This is your story. The only one left to believe is you. And students, we're here to challenge you and inspire you. Grab your future. Life is beautiful. This is the time to write your story. We believe in you, students. You got this. We got to finish up. Are y'all having a good time so far? Students, this is such an honor to be here. This is such an honor to be here. Listen, I grew up in a little corner of Texas, Mexico, and I grew up thinking, nobody understands my pain. Nobody understands what I'm going through. The world is not like this. I thought that I lived in this little corner, isolated world. And I used to think I have nothing to offer the rest of the world. But then I started traveling. And I realized that the rest of the world is not very different than me. I moved to Los Angeles. I was living in Los Angeles. First day I was there, I was watching the news, and it said, LAPD is looking for a man, 5'6" to 5'8", dark hair, dark eyes, Hispanic man, 150 to 175 pounds. And I said, that's all my friends. Everybody I know, all my friends are here in LA. Then I moved to New York City. I moved to the Bronx. As soon as I got out of the subway on 161, right next to Yankee Stadium, I was living on Sheridan, right next to the courthouse, Sheridan and 164. As soon as I walked off of the subway, this is what I heard. Dame más gasolina. And I said, wait a minute, I know that song. I'm not that different than these people. I went to Montreal, Canada, and I was on the Uber to get a ride to the airport. And I was having some problems communicating with the driver. And I said, what? He's like, tu viens d'où? Where are you from? And I was like, well, I'm Texas, but I'm Mexican. And the guy told me, he's like, oye, papá, yo soy de Cuba. And we started talking in Spanish, and he was able to give me the directions. I was in Rome, Italy. I went to Christmas Eve Mass a few years ago at the Basilica. I couldn't get into the Basilica. And so there was a guy sitting outside. And I said, "Scusi, a che ora inizia la mezza?" And he said, "What?" I don't speak Italian. And I said, "Oh, what time is the Mass at?" And he's like, "I think it's at 8. And I said, "Where are you from?" "I am from Guadalajara, Mexico." And I said, "No manches, güey, yo soy de Laredo." I went to Dubai, and I went into the Zara store in Dubai, in the mall. And the music was boom, 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 boom. The music was going. And then all of a sudden, the music stopped and I heard this. Nah. Everything stopped. I said, "What's going on?" And they said, "It's prayer time." So everything got quiet. Nah. As soon as the music stopped, like nothing happened. And then I said, "Wait a minute. That's like my friends back home." Because we're in a car with the music. Wait, there's a church. I went to Malaysia. And one of the girls told me, she's like, "Mr. Garcia, you are funniest comedian we ever heard." And I say, "Really? You are only comedian we ever heard." And I said, "Really?" And she said, "Ah." Here's what I'm getting to, man. I didn't know that little squinkleito me from nowhere, Texas. Tengo pasaporte mexicano, tengo pasaporte americano. I didn't think I had anything to offer the world. But when I was able to get that education, it showed me and it opened up my mind que yo también tengo un gran valor. You have a great value. And what education does, it's not about a piece of paper. It's about who you become in the process. Some people say, "I just want to get my diploma. I want these 4 years to go by so I can have a piece of paper." It's about who you become in the process. Let me finish here. Are y'all having a good time? Cool. Let me finish here with this story. When you focus, when you find your genius, when you find your story, and you surround yourself with a team like this, the things that used to become your weakness become your strength. I went to Switzerland just a few years ago, the largest French-speaking conference in the country for French-speaking teens and youth. And I took the same joke they told me years earlier and I flipped it. I was able to turn my weakness into a strength. I took the microphone and I said, "If you speak 3 languages, you're trilingual. If you speak 2 languages, you're bilingual. But if you speak 5 languages, you're David Edward Garcia." I was able to flip it. And that's why we're here, students, because we're going to rewrite our story. We're going to rewrite our script. Students, if I had time, I will go by every single one of you, and I would shake your hand. I'd look at you eye to eye, and I'd tell you face to face that the future belongs to you. You might say, "Well, I'm not Hispanic," wherever you come from. "Dude, I don't even know Spanish. I don't even know what you're talking about." Dreams are for everybody. Beauty is for every single person on this planet. And education is for everybody. My spiritual belief teaches me if you're a male or a female, if you're red or yellow, black or white, whatever your orientation is, whatever you like, dreams, a future, and an education belong to you. We're here to tell you this is your greatest moment. If I had time, I would tell you how wonderful the future is, how much potential you have. Listen, since I don't have that time, there's 2 things I want to do. Number 1, I want to give my book for free to every single one of you. My book. Since I couldn't carry them all in the airport, all you got to do is this. Go to my website, davidedwardgarcia.com. You put in your information there. You click the button. It's sent to you automatically. davidedwardgarcia.com. davidedwardgarcia.com. Not .mx, just .com. Guys, you're going to have a great day. It's a great honor to be here with you. My name is David Edward Garcia. Thank you so much, students. Thank you. Thank you.